just open up with a quick update. A couple hours ago, I spoke to the new mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and really had a wonderful conversation. He's a very impressive guy who won an outstanding victory, a huge vote of confidence in him by the people of London. As everyone knows, his opponent, unfortunately, attempted a very divisive campaign. And the people of London, I think, did something important for all people in democratic societies by standing up and choosing someone who represented their hopes, not their fears, had a great progressive vision for his city. He's someone who's focused on issues as we have of affordable housing and fairness and equity. And I had the honor of meeting Mayor Khan when I was in Manchester, England, at the Labour Party conference 2 years ago. And he, at that point, was obviously an up-and-coming leader. And we had a great conversation about our shared values and the vision we had for our respective cities. So I just want to congratulate him publicly, and I think his election is a very, very positive sign for this world of the ability of people to make progress despite all the negativity and the divisiveness around us. Now, there was a poignant moment in the conversation where he talked about Donald Trump and the fact that, according to someone who's obviously going to be the nominee of one of our major parties for President of the United States, the mayor of London would not be allowed to come to this country. Now, Trump quickly said he would make an exception for one person, the mayor of London, England. But Mayor Khan was quick to say that that just puts the lie to the whole approach that Trump has taken, that we need to respect all people, and we need to respect democratic values, and excluding people based on their faith is fundamentally un-American and doesn't conform with any vision of democracy. And I just want to quote from him because I think Mayor Khan said something very, very positive and very helpful. He said, quote, "Trump's ignorant view of Islam could make both our countries less safe. It risks alienating mainstream Muslims, and London has proven him wrong." So I really want to wish him best of luck. I extended to Mayor Khan an invitation to come visit us here in New York and told him that we were ready to work with him on a host of issues of common concern, and that all the officials of our government look forward to supporting his new administration every way we can. So just wanted to open with that. Happy to take any questions on that or anything else. Yes?
Mayor, a couple of questions on the plan to end AIDS related questions. Even with the money that you decided to spend in the coming fiscal year, without the state match, it would seem that the ability of this plan to be successful is at best limited. I wonder if you could comment on that, if you see that. Similarly, we got a bunch of documents from City OMB on last year's discussion about funds for the plan to end AIDS, and among the documents, a number of them strongly suggest that there's a level of distrust between some folks in your administration and the Cuomo administration. I wonder if that's had an impact on your ability. Do you perceive that? And has that an impact on your ability to govern the city of New York?
No, there are areas where we disagree. There's no two ways about that. And some of those agreements are very important. Disagreements are very important matters. But, well, first of all, governors and mayors have often disagreed. That's not new. I've said many times, even when we fundamentally disagree, we all keep working on the things we can work on, and our staffs keep working together. But on this issue, I think it's straightforward. The city of New York has made a very clear financial commitment to ending the AIDS epidemic. We're going to stand by that commitment. We're going to implement it in every way we can. You're right to say the state must keep its word. The state must provide the funds they committed to. And we haven't seen that. We did not see that in the state budget. There is a second bite at the apple with the legislative session that'll go into next month. And I think anyone who cares about this issue has to demand action from the state.
So if I could just quickly follow up.
Please.
Can this plan be successful without the state kicking in the money that the...
We can't achieve, of course we cannot achieve the same goals without the state. That's the simple answer. The city will do everything we can on our own, but if we're really about the work of ending the epidemic, that requires the state of New York to be an energetic participant and to keep its financial commitments. Dave.
Mayor, on Friday, most of us saw the letter, I think, from your attorney regarding JCO. But could you explain to us your thoughts of why you don't want to participate in that investigation, and also just overall what you think of J-COPE.
I'm not an expert on J-COPE. I can certainly say that the difference between its mandate and the way it's comported itself is quite clear, and Mr. Laufer's letter details that in great specificity, great clarity. Again, I'm not going to editorialize about motive. Just I would urge all of you to look into these fascinating interconnections and potential motives and the cast of characters, because we keep seeing the same thing over and over. Here's a case where J-COPE seems to be way beyond its jurisdiction and its purview and its whole reason for existence, and seems to be applying different standards only to one entity in the entire state, which is the Campaign for One New York. So I think Mr. Laufer is entirely right to say we will cooperate happily on anything involving the actual purpose of J-COPE, and we have for a year. And we're very happy to cooperate with other types of investigations. We've said clearly, want to, in any way we can, provide information to be helpful to any investigation, and we look forward to the speedy conclusion of any and all investigations. But when an entity goes beyond its legal purview, possibly for the wrong motivations, there's a point at which you say enough is enough.
When you say, and you've said in the last few days, especially on the radio, when you were talking about you feel like you've been treated unfairly compared to a lot of other different entities, I take it you're referring to the governor, that he's gotten a pass on some of these things and you're not?
I would just say it broadly. Go back and look at everything from what's happened at the state level with committees that pursued policy goals but didn't disclose their finances. Look what's happened at the federal level. Massive amounts of money being poured into elections and referenda with no disclosure. Those are fundamental problems in a democracy. Everything we have been a part of, we've been adamant about the importance of disclosure. So I think there is a double standard. I think everyone here has a job to do. I respect it. But I think when people are not even telling you where money is coming from, that's even a higher level problem. Further, we've said from the beginning, we are willing and able and happy to cooperate with any and all investigations because we want to get down to the bottom of any of the outstanding issues. And then lastly, if you look at the history, and it's all documented, when we decided to work on something, we went to the Conflict of Interest Board and asked for guidance. And then we followed that guidance very, very carefully and had lawyers checking every step along the way to make sure that the guidance was understood and was respected. That's a high level of adherence to ethical standards. Again, if that were the norm in government in this state and around the country, we'd be having a very, very different discussion. So I've said many times, I believe New York City has achieved much more than most places in terms of high ethical standards, lots of oversight entities, lots of checks and balances, obviously the best campaign finance system of any city in the country. And I believe in all that, and we're going to continue to live by those standards. Jillian?
Just to follow up on that question, Mayor, was there something that made made your administration or made your lawyer change his mind about dealing with J-COPE? Because that morning on Friday, you went on the radio, you said you were going to cooperate with any and all investigations, and just a few hours later, this letter from the attorney saying no more.
No, I think it's quite consistent. Look at the letter. We cooperated with quite a while with J-COPE on the part of their efforts that actually related to their purview. No one's questioning there's so many other entities and what they do, and it's consistent what they're doing. We're, again, happy to cooperate. And I've told everyone who works with me that I want the fullest cooperation. But J-COPE has started to go into areas that have nothing to do with its stated mission. Again, Mr. Laufer laid that out in extraordinary detail, how it has deviated from its legal mandate. Again, not applying the same standard to anyone else. And again, look at the cast of characters and who hired them and what they come out of. It's a very interesting story. So we simply drew a line and said, on the legitimate purview, we have and will cooperate, but on matters that are not part of the purview legally, that's a different matter entirely. Marcia.
Mr. Mayor, the heads of the J-COPE people went into court last night and they sought an order to show cause to compel your campaign to cooperate.
Well, let's be careful. I think you're talking about the Campaign for One New York.
To compel the Campaign for One New York to cooperate. I wonder how you feel about the fact that they're trying to force you to do something that you don't want. And when I put the question to the head of JCOPE today about whether, you know, the obvious charges in your letter about being politically motivated, they claimed that they have 7 Democrats and 7 Republicans and it's bipartisan. I wonder if you believe what they're saying.
No, I don't. I think it's quite clear double standards being held. I think it's quite clear there are other motivations. And they want to go to court and go to court. We think it's quite clear that they are beyond their purview, unlike any other investigatory body. And we've seen these games played before, and we're not going to stand for it. We very much want to see a speedy conclusion of all the legitimate investigations, and we'll cooperate. But when something's being done for other reasons, other than the legal mandate of that entity, that's a whole different discussion.
Are they being disingenuous by saying that they said specifically the governor is not pulling any strings and that they had to get a majority vote in order to issue you a subpoena, which would imply that they need at least one Democrat to
Yeah,
go.
I find the notion of, you know, someone's party registration being the only thing to talk about, I don't find that pertinent. I think the history of how JCOPE was created and who it responds to is quite clear. Jen.
Outside today, Hakeem Jeffries and Ruben Diaz held a press conference and was saying the city doesn't have enough funding for summer jobs program for kids. Those two are mentioned as possible 2017 challengers. Are you worried about re-election with these, you know, probes and, you know, the feds looking into your fundraising? Does that make you nervous?
No, because I know we've done things the right way. And everything I described to you a moment ago, you know, I have to tell you, after years in government, we could only hope for people in government to seek proactive ethical guidance from a body like the Conflict Interest Board, and to consistently ask, you know, what are the right ways to do things, and then constantly, conscientiously follow up. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And of course, again, to disclose everything. I said to you guys the other day, people who disclose everything they're doing obviously feel comfortable with what they're doing. I feel comfortable with what we're doing. I feel that we have followed the letter and spirit of the law, that everything we've done is appropriate. And as more and more facts come out, I think you're going to see that we made our decisions with the people's interests in mind, and lots of folks who wanted something for themselves didn't get it, and that the people's interest came first. So I'm very, very comfortable that we've done things the right way, and I think the people of this city will understand that. And I also believe, I said it on the radio the other day, people make decisions, voters make decisions based on what you have achieved for them. They're looking at whether their schools are getting better, whether the city is safe, whether there are more jobs, whether it's a fairer city. That's how they're going to make their decisions, I'm quite convinced. Anna.
Are you at all concerned that the city's plan to give vasectomies to Staten Island's deer is going to be tainted by support from Night Class, which is linked to at least 1 or 2 of these investigations?
No, this is a very common sense plan of a way to address a real issue on Staten Island, which is the deer population, in a humane way. Governments all over the country are recognizing the importance of doing things in a humane fashion. And it's a smart plan, and that's one part of the plan. Obviously, we're going to educate folks on the best ways to not encourage deer to come near their property. There's a whole set of things we're doing, but it's very consistent with, I think, the most modern thinking of how we deal with animal issues. Josh.
Explain how Joseph Dutchich, the owner of JAD Corporation, who makes, you know, rat repellents in trash bags, how he got a meeting with you after giving $100,000 to the campaign for New York, and how he got a contract soon with the Parks Department, and whether you had anything to do with it.
So again, any matter under investigation, I'm not going to go into play-by-play on. The bottom line is everything was done appropriately, and you know, there are people I came to know through the work I do, but we are very, very clear about holding high standards about how all our decisions are made. Yeah.
Mayor, did you ever, for the Campaign for One New York, personally solicit donations from anybody who had a matter pending before the city?
I think I've explained this a lot of times, and I'm happy to explain it again. So everything we did was based on Conflict of Interest Board guidance, which is a living, breathing thing, meaning that our lawyers have to look at that guidance and apply it consistently to anyone that we might be approaching for support. And there are very clear guidelines of how you look at the question of whether someone is on the doing business list or what their status is and how to approach it. So we follow that guidance consistently.
Can you say a little bit more about how that process worked? How did you and the team working
Yeah, I'm not going to go
determine?
into the mechanics. I'm going to just repeat the basic concept. We went to the Conflict of Interest Board up front, something that, again, a lot of people in government don't do, receive legal guidance. Then the appropriate lawyers, depending on what situation we're talking about, applied that guidance, determined the right approach to each and every individual. That's how it worked.
Mayor, you did make personal phone
Yeah,
calls to some of the donors,
I said
right?
we took the guidance and we lived by it.
Following up on Jeffries and Diaz being on the steps of City Hall while you're signing bills in here, just the two of them standing out there, did you interpret that as the political equivalent of a baseball brushback pitch? What message did you receive from them standing out here while you're inside?
Well, I'm a baseball fan, and we did a great bill today providing protection for our Little League kids. I'm very familiar with brushback pitches. Didn't feel like a brushback pitch to me. We're here doing the people's business. I've said to you many, many times, I want to reiterate it. If folks want to run for this great office, bring it on. We're very, very confident of the work we're doing, what we're getting done for everyday New Yorkers, and what kind of impact it's going to make. So, I am comfortable. Anyone has a right to talk about anything they want to, but in terms of the work we're doing, we're confident in it.
Mayor, what's your definition of business before the city? Because it's clear there are several contractors who had business before the city when they received
There's a legal definition.
What's your definition?
Oh, I don't make up laws, my friend. It's a legal definition. This is again why I want to pause. The concept here, I don't quite know why people are struggling with it so much. I'd like you to pay attention to this and go look at it yourselves. We believe in the laws, we follow the laws, and the concept of asking for guidance from the ethical experts proactively, I want you to recognize what that means. They can say, yes, you can do something you believe is a good thing to do, no, you can't, or you can only do it in this fashion. That's totally the right way to handle it, is to follow their guidance. They give the definitions based on the law, and then we follow through. I'm not a lawyer. I don't try and interpret the law. I ask legal experts to then interpret the guidance, interpret the law, and live by that on a consistent basis. I'm not saying this to be difficult. I understand anyone trying to come up with their own definition, but it's like so many other matters in life. We all could come up with our own definitions, but when there's a governing law, we should really look to the definition of the law and use that. So that's what we live by every time. In the interest of generosity, this small paper over here, the New York Times has a question.
Well, I just wanted to ask thank you for acknowledging me, what effect all these investigations have had on your fundraising and whether or not you've sold out your birthday party?
We're getting a great response to the birthday party. There's still some tickets, which is normal with any big event. We encourage people to come. You should tell people all about it. And, we've got a lot of folks who support the vision of this administration and are energized to get going now on what will be a very vigorous reelection effort. So I feel very good about the direction we're going in. Thank you, everyone.
How did you celebrate your birthday, Mr. Mayor?
Private day with my wife, the finest celebration.
What kind of birthday cake?
We didn't do cake. I'm staying healthy.
How old are you now?
Bill, thank you, Bill.